had doctors before this telling me, you're probably going to be menopausal soon. I ain't even 45 yet. I have lots of messages from women. The doctor told me this. The doctor told me this. Well, you know what? A lot of doctors don't know a lot about cycles, women's health, and fertility. Take it all with a grain of salt. I would leave and sometimes go into the car and just cry my eyes out. As we age, we are going to change. Our bodies naturally change. We're aging, but like, there's a difference in the mind when we think of ourselves as like, I'm just so old. Mindset and belief is more powerful than most people give credit to. How did you get pregnant twice? Why? If I tell them, they won't
Do you really
believe
want to
me.
hear the story? Are you ready to hear this?
Do you really want to know that I actually believed it? Like, because so many women don't believe it because they're constantly being told it's not possible. Or they have a 1% chance. I felt strongly. I just felt strongly in my body. I was like, I know there's another one coming. I could feel it. It was really strong. Any pregnancy after a loss is really scary because you're just constantly like, is this baby still here? Is this baby staying? Because of that fear, I think, put me into the system more. I was really getting checked a lot. I was getting lots of scans, which was the opposite with my son. I didn't do much of that at all. Which helped me to stay connected because it just gets so loud. You're told so many things. You're already so vulnerable. You're constantly being fed information that's often laced with fear. I would go to doctor's appointments and they'd be like, oh, you're probably in perimenopause. And I woke up, Melissa, and my whole body was like, no, you cancel that. That is not the way you're doing this. This is not the way for that baby to come through unless it's meant to happen. It will come through naturally. They weren't very nice. Like, how dare you? And it's risky. And who do you think you are? And you've already got one. I remember one doctor actually saying to me, you should feel lucky that you had your baby when you did.
Wow.
Yeah, that one hurt. I share about it because I want other women to know.
Hey, beautiful soul. Yes, you. You are beautiful, whether you identify as female, male, trans, alien, fairy, witch, daughter, son, mum, dad, sister, brother, grandpa, grandma. You are beautiful. And don't you ever forget to be you to the full. Thank you so much for stopping by and clicking on this episode. It has called you for a reason, and that is because it matches your frequency and your vibration, and there is a message in it for you. Before every episode, I sit in meditation and I ask for those who are meant to benefit from my conversations be guided to it. Now, if you resonate with this episode, please subscribe, like, and comment below. And even better, share this with another being. Now, when we share our information, we can help to bring consciousness to as many beings as possible. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending your time here and working on yourself to find out who you are so that you can help others shine their light just as much as yours. Now let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's Melissa, and welcome back to the Purpose Search podcast, where I discuss all things science, spirituality, and purpose. If you're new here today, thank you for clicking on this episode. I hold conversations with people who have life-changing stories, who are incredibly knowledgeable in their field and are aligned with their purpose, which I hope will spark something inside of you to listen to the call of your heart and intuition. Today, I have the most beautiful woman, Chrissy Hubbard, who is a retired people pleaser turned intuition-led mother, storyteller, and human design guide. She's passionate about sharing her journey of becoming a mother of two beautiful children at the age of 41 and 45. She is now supporting women to trust themselves, follow what feels true for them, and helping them to create life on their own terms. Welcome, Chrissy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. It's such an honor.
Oh, I'm so excited to share this story with everyone listening today, just to invoke some hope, some wisdom, and trust that when we listen to our bodies and live by our design, we really can have such a meaningful and purposeful life, which you have shown us through blowing up on Instagram and sharing your story and how people have resonated with you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you. It's always fun I think it's really powerful when women share their stories. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you. And every episode, I start with a short breath exercise to drop us into the body and get present with the conversation as we come onto screen or we're listening through our ears. So please do not do this if you are driving, but I invite you to close your eyes now if you feel safe to do so. But you can also take a soft gaze in front of you if that feels more comfortable. So we're going to take notice of our breath and where it is in our body. And just imagine that we are softening the body now. Going to take presence to the tip of our head, the crown, breathing into that space. Coming down to the forehead, the third eye, the eyebrows, the ears, the nose, and the mouth, breathing into those spaces. Taking the focus down to the chin and the throat chakra, the neck and the shoulders, noticing any tension, taking softness into those places. Breathing deep into the chest area and the back. Into the heart. Solar plexus. The belly area, the sacral, coming down into the hips and the sit bones. Into the root, the base of the spine, coming down into the thighs and the calves. Down into the ankles and the heels and the toes. Now imagining that we have roots that are coming down into the earth, planting ourselves. They're multiplying and growing and grounding deep into the crust and core of the earth. On your next inhale, I want you to breathe in the energy of the earth into your body. Letting go of anything, any thoughts that are coming to you. We'll do that 2 more times, taking in a deep breath, bringing up the energy of the earth. Letting go of anything that's coming up. There's nowhere to be, nothing to do. Taking in another deep breath. And letting it go. Turning your attention now to your fingers and your toes and bringing some movement into them, opening your eyes when you feel ready, and coming back to screen and listening to the ears. Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely.
You're so welcome. So I love to start my conversations with what lights you up and sparks joy in you, because we always have that dreaded question of what do you do? I like to reframe it.
Oh.
But I like to start it with what lights up you and why do you feel joy? What sparks joy in you?
I love that question, because as we know in human design, especially as a manifesting generator, that's literally how I need to tune into that all day, every day.
Yes, exactly.
Lights me up right now in these moments, these days. I'm really lit up by being out in the sun. We're in autumn here in Queensland. I'm in Australia. I'm in the Sunshine Coast. And we're in the end of autumn. So we're literally in that time of it's just coming into winter. And obviously here in Queensland, we're tropical, so it doesn't really get that cold, but we think it's cold. I'm obviously, due to my accent, in case anyone's confused, I am from the States, but originally been here a long time. So yeah, I love the sun and the shadows, and that lights me up every day. Like I love how, because we're out on land and we have a lot of land here on the farm. So I'm very aware of I'm so much more aware of seasons since moving away from the city. And so I notice myself really I'm just really in awe of how long the shadows are at this time of year. And just in early afternoon, even I'm like, oh, is it 5 p.m.? No, it's 1. So I'm lit up by things in my morning walk, like sunshine and very simple things. I'm lit up by seeing my kids play together. I have a 5-year-old and 2-year-old, and just like seeing them like hang out and play together, like even just side by side makes me really happy because sometimes they're also like hurting each other. I'm lit up by their joy, of course. And I really get lit up by things related to anything related to like following our purpose and our joy and our truth and our path. So that's taken different forms throughout my life. And as we have that common interest of human design. So yeah, especially in the last few years, that's really, I've gone deep into human design. I've done some trainings, and then I started to do readings and started to do like, especially for mothers, like really like, do you want to understand why is your child like that? I'll tell you why, because they came here to be that way, like it's been really powerful and empowering as a mother, but just as a woman in general in this world that's constantly telling you who to be and what to do and how to live, how to act, how to dress, what to say. Finding human design is, I think, such a beautiful permission slip to just literally live as how you came here to be. And it is not like anyone else, right? We're all meant to be very
Mhm.
unique, right? None of us are special, but we're all very unique, if that makes sense. Like you and I are not meant to be the same in any way. And so it's really been beautiful because it's really lit me up, especially after my second child. I got into kind of I definitely had, I didn't have postpartum depression. I know that wasn't that, but I did have a moment there, a moment that lasted a while, that was really heavy and dark and really, really like really hard, really challenging. And it's weird because I was like, what? All my dreams come true. Like, why am I so low for
Mm.
days and days on end? And I had my best friend, luckily, was there to like kind of help support me and do all the things and lift me up. But like, it was really intense. And then I started to like listen to human design podcasts. I started to like, it just kind of
Mm.
helped like bring me back.
Wow.
It like helped bring me back to life, just like listening to the podcasts and reading things about human design. And it like woke me back up to my joy, which was really powerful. And I'll always be grateful for that. So that's another thing that brings me joy. Yeah, I think it's more like as I get older, it's the simplest things, like my chocolate,
Yeah.
my morning coffee. That's
Mhm.
it, Melissa. Like I'm easily pleased with those sorts of things.
Well, to be honest, from hearing your story and following you on Instagram, like I've witnessed such pure joy, like from like your posts just emanate that joy, and I can see why, because you've been through so many struggles
Mm,
and challenges, but you've aligned yourself, and knowing now what human design you are and
yeah.
aligning yourself with living that by design,
Mhm.
it's really beautiful to witness, and actually validates me as well as a projector. So
Yes.
for
Yeah.
those that are listening who don't know what human design is, um, human design is an energetic blueprint, and it basically gives you your purpose of why you've been brought here to Earth. It's one of those
Mm,
maps. It's a modality, and there are lots out there. Like you can have an astrology chart, you can have gene keys, lots of different ones. But I love to ask my guests what their human design is. So you told us you're a manifesting generator. Can you tell
yes.
us your profile and your incarnation cross?
Yes. So my profile is a 5-1, and my incarnation cross is the left angle cross of distraction, which I think for a lot of people, that's, I don't know want to say advanced, but like the cross, I think sometimes even in readings, I would sometimes not even touch it because I might talk about it a little bit because sometimes I find people go like, it's just so much, it can
Yeah,
sometimes take people into like their too much of their headspace.
yeah.
But yeah, a 5, like there's quite a few profiles, and the two numbers represent different things. And so the 5-1 for it's more of a person that came here to be like a really creative problem solver, someone that is more outward. Probably 5-1s are, I would say, more outward facing than some of the other ones. Definitely more of like a forward facing, outward facing vibe. Meant to kind of, the voice of a 5-1 is meant to go out pretty wide. I would say that's one thing that I've learned about 5-1s. And we go deep into the things that we love. Like as you're a line one, I think too, is like line ones love to go deep, where they're the investigators, right? Like they're just like, you like something and people are like, oh, you like that? You're like, yes, I've read 5 books about it. And then I also took
Yes.
a training.
Yeah.
I took a course.
And I
I
also live
don't
and
just,
breathe it every
we don't
morning
just
and
like
night.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one in a one profile just likes things a little bit. It's like you can't help it. You almost think there's something wrong with you, but it's part of your design is to go deep, and then you become more of an expert. You be like anyone that has a line one friend knows that if they have this interest, they just go to their line one friend and they'll learn all about it,
Yeah.
right? And we can't help ourselves sometimes. So, but the 5-1 put together is someone who comes to likes to help others. The line 5 is very much about being a hero and supporting others. And that's something I do. That's what gives me the most purpose, is when I'm helping others, I would say, in my life. When I'm not helping others, I find it a bit challenging. But I also have 2 little people that I look after now every day, all day, that need me. So it's like I'm constantly in my line 5.
Yeah.
Okay, you need help. But in general, like to help others, that I don't know as well, that come to me about human design, or a lot more recently that come to me about, their divorce they've gone through at 35, their, fertility struggles, they're wanting to have a second baby in their 40s. I love to support women. And that's why I love to share my story, because I love women to feel that support and that hope come through for them in their journey. I love being a 5-1, but it does come with a lot of projections, which is sometimes a bit, which is, you just get used to it.
Yeah, the 5 line also can be like when it's in the shadow, can be like that you need to help everyone, but actually sometimes you just
Absolutely.
need to be helping yourself first before you can help
Yeah.
everybody else.
And just know that unless my authority is what, we all have our authority, which is going to be what our inner authority, which is like our intuition that tells us the right way to go, the next right decision. If my authority is saying, yes, go help that person, then that's cool. If
And
I'm
you're a
just doing it
sacral,
for,
so for anyone listening,
yeah, I get an instant in the moment knowing with a sacral authority. But like if it's an ego thing, which for 5 sometimes it is, it's like, oh, I've got to help them because once I'm a hero, which is a tricky line, that's like a gray area sometimes for me. I'm like, wait, what am I doing this for?
Which technically the 5 is the heretic, so it's kind of the hero. So I love that. But your life incarnation cross is fascinating. I love looking and diving into this. I know you said that it can be quite complicated, but actually I found a through line for all the guests that I've been listening to, and them finding their purpose and being aligned with their purpose. And actually it's so fascinating. When I looked at yours, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Yours is the left angle cross of distraction, 56, 60, 27, 28. And your life theme is designed to break people out of rigid scripts. You are a multi-passionate trailblazer who inspires others to pivot, take risks, and find purpose in unexpected places. I mean, wow. Like with your story, which we'll dive into like in a second, but like I just find that so fascinating with like everything that you've been through and what you're like, how you've now blown up on Instagram and just the story that you're telling.
I think the story, I've always known when I tell the story, whatever the story is, that's goes out pretty far. And that's like, I can feel I'm in, like the universe goes, now do this. This is what you're meant to do. And you get that clear, like, you just can feel you're doing the thing, When I used to teach yoga, I reckon that people didn't really come to my classes because I was like a great yoga teacher. I think they came because I would use my voice, I mean, I think I still had a good flow, but like, I look back now and I'm like, I reckon when I really dropped into like just telling stories and like really speaking from my truth, I think that's when they would just keep coming back, because it was just, I was doing the thing I was meant to do, right? And the yoga was just the current way, right?
That was your purpose at the time.
The yoga class at the time was the current way that I use my voice, which is interesting. No. And I think I've always felt that I'm like, kind of came here to like, be like, hey, like, hey to people, like, what about if, like, and that's also part of 5-1. Like, what if we do it over here? What if we do this over here? have you guys noticed that everyone's like doing this, but have you tried doing this? Like, and it's like kind of weird and wacky. And then there's that manage energy. Like, I'm not going by the book. I'm not doing it ABCD,
Got to manifest
obviously
the
my
line.
whole
Yeah.
life was like not ABCD,
Hmm.
but, yeah, I think with that 56, we all have many gates, and she's talking about, the gate 56 is my greatest one, which means that it makes up like 70% of my, giftness, for lack of a better word, of my gift energy and my gate energy. And so it's like, I literally came here to tell stories, and the stories are meant to be transformational. Yeah. And so I think what happened too is that I stepped into that on my platform a bit more. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why it's been more like people are noticing it more, because I'm being visible in the way that my design is meant to be visible. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I love it. And so just to touch on your astrology sign as well. So you are a Leo sun, Sagittarius
Yes.
rising, and Pisces moon. Do you resonate with
Yes.
these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not as good with all the astrology things.
Yeah.
One of my really good friends is so good, and she'll just like, I'll just hit her up with stuff, and she's like, "Oh, girl, you're in this, la la la." She like tells
Yeah.
me all the things.
All the
But
planets are
I
doing this. Yeah.
understand. I used to always, because I think we always were taught like it's just about your, the sun
Hmm.
sign, and there's so much about the Leo that I'm like, I'm not just out there being loud because I want to be loud and seen.
Hmm.
I don't think that was true. So I've learned a lot more about the different parts of my astrology. Then I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get it. Like the emotional element for me, the Pisces, the emotional element is like really, really big part of my
Yeah.
chart as well. And the way that I express myself,
Hmm.
in all of my aspects.
100%. I'm
Yeah.
also a Pisces moon, so I really resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The deep
So
feels.
yeah, deep feels, but I'm also a Cancer sun, so I've got that as well, that water energy.
Ah, yeah.
Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but the Taurus
Cool.
rising is like grounded.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, go Taurus.
I go Taurus. I love Tauruses. So yeah, I really, really love like exploring that in other people and
Mm,
finding out how with their stories and how that's, brought them to where they are and linking those two
yeah.
modalities because they're fascinating for me. My one line. Sorry, can't help it. Um,
No, it's good. You got to go deep with that
yeah.
line one. Hey.
I do find that, yeah, as I said, there's like this through line, and I'm noticing this with lots of my guests, and I just envision having like a library of all these people that I've interviewed and their life incarnation crosses, and our children maybe listening to this one day and being like, "Oh yeah, that's why
Yeah.
Grandma was like that."
Yeah. Yeah. That's why my mom was so like weird and
Just gotta love her for her design.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you fell into human design in a beautiful way, and you did your yoga training and you fell into that. But there was a huge story here that we're missing, which is that you became a mother after 40.
Yes.
You were 41 when you had your first. Was that Birdie?
Yeah. My daughter. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I went through, one of my biggest plot twists in my mid 30s. And that for me, that was my divorce, with my husband of the time, my ex-husband, and, um, lovely man. And just, he was the one that the reason I came over to Australia originally. And he had a different path that he was meant to walk, and he didn't want to have any more kids. He'd had one previous relationship, one child, and he had said he was open to another one, and um I really thought we were going to. Like I remember being like, did I mix something messages up here? And yeah, it I could see not too far into the relationship that, yeah, I didn't know if that was going to happen. And so I even had like, I did go through a lot of times, Melissa, where I just was like, okay, I guess I'm not meant to do that, because I've chosen to be with this man. So that must be the choice that I've made, that I'm not going to do that because it hasn't happened for me. And there was that question of like, well, it hasn't happened for me yet, so I probably can't get pregnant anyways. Like I know a lot of women sometimes think that too. But, again, there's so much about fertility. There's so much about like creation that we just will never understand. And always say to women, like, just be so open to the miracle and the possibility, no matter what the 50 doctors have told you, no matter what their blood tests are trying to tell you, like the blood test can't test the miracle. So anyways, but to not get sidetracked. So yeah, long story short, we ended up divorcing because I finally got to a place where I was like, actually, I don't want the same thing that you do for the future. I do want to try and have children. And he was the one, beautiful man that he was. He was actually the one that said, I'm going to let you go. Because I was holding on. I was the one being like, I'm loyal. I'm going to hold on to our love. Like, I don't want to break up. And I'd had my first marriage, which was when I was very young. I was like 20. And I was deep in my people pleasing, deep in like the church, and deep in like just making sure I was doing the right thing. And I ended up marrying this guy, and he, again, not a bad guy at all. None of these guys are bad, but it was just like I was not myself yet. I didn't even know who I was when I was 20. And so, I wasn't obviously meant to be with him, but then I think I had that in my mind with going through that second divorce was like, oh my God, second divorce. What's wrong with me? Like, all the people judging me was a thing. Like, oh, people are going to judge me. My family's going to think I'm, terrible because I wasn't even supposed to get divorced the first time. And, especially raised more religious
That's
home.
post
Yeah. You should stay together because that's what marriage is. That's what I was taught, and that's what I was modeled. It was modeled to me. But, lo and behold, I couldn't help but listen to my gut. So we separated, and I took some time, and that was such a beautiful time. Actually, I think I spoke to you about that when we first talked, was like being alone, and it was lonely. It was really hard. I was heartbroken. I was confused too, because I was like, am I just not good at being married? Like, what's wrong with me? I'm lovable, right? Like, I'm cool. Like, what's going on? And I was still teaching a lot of yoga and just like living by myself in this beautiful little apartment. I had my beautiful sanctuary in the city in Brisbane, and, kept my heart open, tried dating, tried all the things, right? Like just opened myself to all the things. Like, and that was one thing that I look back and I'm like, I never shut completely down and went, I'm never doing this again. I'm never falling in love. I'm never going to get married again. Like, it was, I look at my heart and I'm like, isn't it amazing? The heart is so amazing and powerful and beautiful, how it always wants to open again. It always wants to let the love in. And so that was a big theme for me, was to keep my heart open and was to connect with my heart. And I didn't have human design language at the time. So I always spoke about like following my heart. That was my big thing, about like listen to your heart, follow your heart. I would talk about that a lot in my yoga class. And I even made workshops around it. I remember it was a big theme. But what I was saying is like, listen to your intuition, listen to your wisdom. And so I did. And I got on a plane to Bali, like very like on a whim. Like, I was invited last minute to this training in Bali, and I got on a plane and I was like, what am I doing? Like, had to cover like all these classes. I was teaching so many classes, had to get all these people to cover my classes. It was such a pain, but I was like, I just felt my gut was like, go now, do the thing, go. And I've had multiple times in my life where it's felt really like, especially to other people, like really too spontaneous. Like, it's like, what, you need to think about that. Do you have the money for that? Like all the things. It's not enough decision, not enough logic. And that's when my best decisions have been made, is when I haven't used the logic and I've just listened to my gut. And so I got on the plane, went to this training in Bali, never been to Bali before. And and that's where I met my now husband. Wasn't even thinking I was going to meet someone. I was probably like dating a couple of different guys actually at the time. And I was like, good. I'm good here on my own in my apartment. And I met this beautiful man, and and then that rocked my world. Yeah. And it was pretty quick with him. Like, it was like, he was very like asking me all these questions, and he'd had 2 children with his previous relationships. And they were kind of like, they were not little anymore. They were kind of getting to that age where he was starting to feel the freedom. And he says to me, he reminded me the other day, I asked you, like, are you okay? You haven't had kids yet. So you don't want to have kids. And he reminded me that I said in that moment, I've made peace with it, because at this point I'm like, what, 38, 39. And I'm like, oh, and of course, because of what I've been conditioned, like there's no way I can even do it. Right. Which just cracks me up now. And I'm like, oh, I've made peace with it. It's not that I haven't wanted it, but I've just made peace with it. It's probably not meant to be in this life for me. And he was pretty clear that he was, he's had his kids and he's, but he was very like, we were attracted to each other and we really liked each other. So I ended up coming back to Australia because he's from Australia as well. And I would kind of travel back and forth from Brisbane to Sunshine Coast, which is only like 2-hour drive after teaching yoga, and I'd come see him for a couple of days, and that didn't last very long. And then I ended up moving up here after only like a month or something. And we built our yoga shala. We built our yoga space here. He built me a yoga space, which was beautiful. So that was, about not long into our relationship. And then we got married and I was 40 and I was like, I want to try for a baby. And my beautiful husband went, okay. And I don't know. I'm so thankful because not every man would be willing to open to it. Right. But he was trusting. He was trusting me. He was trusting my urges and my gut and my wisdom. And I was like, in his mind, he's like, this probably won't even happen anyways because we're too old. Because again, he's under the same conditioning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just want to try. And yeah. And I was, so that was after 40. I can't remember exactly. And I didn't do too much, to be honest. Like people always ask me, like, what'd you do? I'm like, well, I went to a nutritionist and not nutritionist.
Dietitian?
She's like, basically, she's more of a naturopath. Thank you. The word natural. Sorry. Okay. I don't know why that came out, but yes, I went to a naturopath. Thank you, brain, for testing of like just some blood work, some basics. I felt like that was the right thing to do. Now I probably wouldn't even think about that now, but at the time it felt like the right thing to do. Just get an idea around my hormonal stuff. And I started taking a few supplements, but it was very like minimal, like prenatals and things like that. So it wasn't like I changed in my diet. I was already eating healthy and I always had moved my body. So I think people are always asking me things about my fertility journey. And it's like, well, the overall well-being had been with me for a long time. Like I looked after myself, I was, it's not that I didn't treat myself, but I was eating whole foods, and I was moving my body. I was moving my energy. I was, especially since moving to the farm, I was getting morning sun in my, eyeballs. And like, that's so regulating for the hormones, like, getting out in nature, going for walks and exposing myself to nature, I think was actually one of the, it's not measurable in any way. You can't put it in the lab, Melissa, but I do think it was one of the most powerful pieces of my journey was like just being here and being in nature. And just being connected to cycles, right? And my own cycle, like that, I got really connected to it on my fertility journey, of course. So we fell pregnant. It didn't take us too long. And maybe, I don't know, 5-6 months or something, which, it wasn't too long. And then unfortunately that ended in a loss. And that was really heartbreaking. Probably the most heartbreaking thing I've been through because I also felt like, oh, I got that one chance and then it's gone.
One chance.
Like it's it. That's it.
Our brain does that. Our poor brain.
Because it's like, the conditioning of like, well, you're already too old. Well, you've just had that one shot done and baby's lost. Like it was just horrible. It was, and the way it was dealt with too in the medical system was just like, just horrible and there's not a lot of support around pregnancy loss anyways for women. So, but yeah, I went through that and I was very keen to try again. It didn't take me too long to get back on the horse and be like, okay, I want to try again. But I was told that I had scarring because of the procedure that I had, the DNC, to remove the baby out of my belly and to get rid of everything. And I had to do that because we were going on a plane to America not long after I found out I lost the baby. Now, if I known what I had to go through, I wouldn't have done that again. But then there was scarring, which can happen. And then they were like, well, you're going to need to get special surgery to like remove the scarring and you won't be able to fall pregnant, until you get that. And there was this huge wait to get it done. And I kept calling and trying to get in line and figure out when was my appointment. You know what I mean? And at the time I didn't realize it, but like I was pregnant with my daughter already. Like she'd come through. She was like, screw that. Which is totally her manifestor. That's her human
she's
design.
a manifestor, right?
She's like, I'm coming. I'm sorry, but you guys, I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean I can't come through? I'm coming. So I think it was like a little challenge to her. So she came through beautifully in a little surprise. And and then I had her when I was 41. So that was really, and that pregnancy was hard because I was in a lot of fear because I'd had a loss beforehand. So I think any woman that listens to this will understand, like any pregnancy after a loss is really scary because you're just constantly like, is this baby still here? Is this baby staying? And so because of that fear, I think put me into the system more. And I was really in the medical system. I was really getting checked a lot. I was getting lots of scans, which was the opposite with my son. I didn't do much of that at all. And I kind of, which helped me to stay connected to my intuition. Whereas my first with Birdie, like I was very much giving it away because I was scared. Right. And I thought they knew better than me, which is not true.
It sounds like you were still under that conditioning still, and having Birdie kind of like eradicated all those things for you.
Yeah. And it was really powerful to have her. And, of course they treated it all with like special gloves because, 40 and like geriatric and all the things. And I don't know, just the fear mongering is a bit, I just, if a woman can stay as much out of the system as possible in her pregnancy, no matter what age, I think is really powerful because it just gets so loud. Like you're told so many things. You're already so vulnerable. You're constantly being like fed information. It's often laced with fear. So yeah, that was tricky. That was one tricky thing about, my pregnancy with her. And then I learned a lot. And then I did it really different, with my second. And that he came through as a little bit surprised because I thought, we're one and done, right? Right, Melissa? I mean, come on.
The one shot
41,
and
having
done.
my baby. I'm like, I'm done. There's no way I can have, a sibling for this baby, even though there was a part of me that was like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And I was like, I remember when I started getting the inkling, it wasn't actually that long after she was born, my poor partner. And I was like, wait, what is this? Why do I feel this? What's this? Like what's going on? And I almost felt guilty because I was like, like I've got this one baby. Yeah. Like, how dare I want another one? How greedy of me. And I would go to doctor's appointments and they'd be like, oh, you're probably in perimenopause. So this was probably closer to like, as I started to go, I know that line is like being fed so deeply now to women, but like, I was probably closer to like,
there's no factual evidence. Like you can't just tell someone something like that.
No. And it was just, and my cycle doesn't come back quickly. Like some women, they get their cycles back right away after they get pregnant after they give birth. Some women, it takes, a few months. Mine, it took me a long time, like a couple of years, which is, some people will say that's a long time, but that was right. That was right for my body. And then, I would go and get tests and things done. And I would go to the doctors because I started to feel like I really did want another child. And I was feeling the pressure of like the time and like people, even some naturopath, even like natural practitioners were kind of like, oh, probably looking at IVF now, like la, 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 if you really want a second. And I swear, like it was not meant to be for us, but I got hooked in one day, I remember, by the fear. And I booked in for this, like all this stuff. And you have to go through a lot of like, oh my gosh, you go through so many like hoops and things to like even get to the IVF doctor specialist. You have to go through this other doctor and they do all these other tests for you. And then they do the test on your partner. And my partner remembers being like, why do we do all this? And I'm like, well, because in order to get this appointment, you have to go through this specialist to get a referral, all the hoops. And I just remember waking up one morning after going through all that and getting, I had my appointment booked in, of course, months in advance. And this was like not close to us. This is a big drive. And I woke up, Melissa, and my whole body was like, no, you cancel that. Cancel that. That is not the way you're doing this. This is not the way for that baby to come through. Unless it's meant to happen, it will come through naturally. So that was my story. That was for me. And I know it's different for every woman, but that was just I just felt it. I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. And then once I got my bleed back, my cycle came back. Honestly, it was only like 4 or 5 months, something. It was pretty quick.
Wow.
He came through, and I was just on the verge of turning 45. And I remember like, yeah, like I had doctors before this, like telling me like, you're probably going to be menopausal soon. Like, I wasn't even 45 yet. Like, hold up, mate. Like, I don't know. Just watch yourself. Like, and just the things that women are being told. And I have lots of messages from women being like, the doctor told me this. The doctor told me this. Well, you know what? A lot of doctors don't know a lot about, cycles, like women's cycles, women's health and fertility. So be careful what they tell you. Don't take it all with a grain of salt, and then just maybe don't go, because I would leave and sometimes go into the car and just cry my eyes out because I was being told, like, and they weren't very nice about it usually, kind of like, how dare you, and
Like, who
it's
do you think you are
risky.
to not
Yeah, who do you
giving that
think you
vibe again?
are? And
Yeah.
yeah, like, you already got one. You like, I remember one doctor actually saying to me, you should feel lucky that you had your baby when you did.
Wow.
Yeah, that one hurt. I was like, ooh, ouch. Okay.
Mm.
And of course, it's all men. Not that even some of the women weren't very nice, but yeah, anyways, so it was beautiful. I felt strongly. I just felt strongly in my body. I was like, I know there's another one coming. I could feel it. It was really strong. I was like, this can't just be a made up thing. Like, I know, my beliefs are powerful, and like my feelings, my wisdom in my body is powerful. And anyways, he came through, and I was almost, I was about to turn 45. It was like my little birthday present, or my big birthday present. And I didn't even take a test for a long time. I just let it be. It was really beautiful. I just let myself like feel my body change. I could feel it happening pretty quickly. Like my belly kind of came out straight away. My pants were tight, and I was like, I don't think I'm gaining weight, but maybe. And I remember even talking to my friend. I'm like, well, my cycle hasn't been here for a while, like it's been over, it's been a couple months. And she's like, and I was like, and I even joked, I'd be like, I think it's perimenopause. And she's like, do you know? Because she knew
We
I
love
was,
this brand.
yeah, she knew I was, she's like, I don't think that, I think we know what it is. So it took me a while to actually take a test, because I was just like simmering in it, simmering in the knowing without having to like test for it, and just let myself know it.
Oh,
So when I did
beautiful.
test, I was like, yeah, hi. So yeah, that was really beautiful. And then he came, we had a home birth here. And I was 45, and it was like the most beautiful pregnancy. I was so strong after first trimester, of course, but after that, so much energy, walked every morning, did this big walk that we have here at the national park, and like so strong, and like, just powerful. And it was just such an embodied time for me, Melissa. Like, and I share about it because I want other women to know that, like, yes, like I do understand that, like, as we age, we are going to change. Our bodies naturally change. Things naturally need to move forward. Naturally, like we're aging, but like there's a difference in the mind when we think of ourselves as like, I'm just so old. Like, I think there's just I think mindset and belief is more powerful than most people give credit to. Because that's what, like, it's constantly like, how did you get pregnant twice? I'm like, why? If I tell them, they won't
Do you really want to
me.
hear the story? Are you ready to hear this?
Do you really want to know that I actually believed it? Like, because so many women don't believe it, because they're constantly being told it's not possible, or they have a 1% chance. Right. And so I feel so grateful for my journey. I feel so grateful for my babies. That's what, when you talk about what lights me up, what brings me joy, it's like they do. I mean, obviously I'm so overwhelmed sometimes, because that's what motherhood is. It's like the duality of both. But I'm so grateful for listening to that inner wisdom and not taking those external projections and fears on as my own, which is what happens with a lot of women, right? If they do really trust their doctors, and they trust the doctor and the medical system, which we've been taught to, over our own inner voices and knowing, it makes sense to me that, that would be really challenging on a fertility journey. The belief that we hold inside our bodies and are telling ourselves over and over again is really, really important and powerful. So that's why I'm constantly saying to women, like anyone that's in my DMs, I'm just like, keep your hope high. Like, tell yourself, you know, this is possible. Like keep your hope high. Make sure like you believe it. Make sure you feel it in your body. You believe it. Picture yourself being pregnant. Picture yourself, you know, like all the things. Like don't let that one doctor who told you that, you know, there's no way. Don't let that doctor control your beautiful life path. You know, don't let them have power over you. And I know it's different for everyone and there's different struggles that every woman goes through. So I want to acknowledge that. And I know that it's very real, some of the fertility issues and struggles and things like that. So I'm not trying to write it off by saying, well, just believe it and your fertility struggle will go away. I'm not saying that for the woman that's having that, but I am speaking to the power of our mind and the power of what we hold inside of our bodies. Our bodies are that's where we create the life. And so if we're holding these disbelief and this like, you know, fear only, and also other people's thoughts and fears and judgments and opinions, because some women feel embarrassed. They're like, oh, I want to have a second kid, you know, say they had their last kid 10 years ago and they're like, I really love another one, but my friends, they'll judge me. Well, you know, maybe they need to go. Those friends.
Maybe you need to get a friend like Chrissy's that's like,
Yeah.
is it really menopause? Or,
Yeah,
you
do we really
know?
want to think about that?
Those are the
Do we
people that
really
we
do?
need to have surrounding us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my women friends, man. Like one thing I tell women is like, be really selective with who you tell your dreams and your wishes to. Be selective with that, because I mean, the women that I had around me, there was only a few and they knew, right? Because I learned the hard way not to tell the wrong people, right? Don't tell everyone. Don't tell all your family members. They might not all think it's great, you know? So it's okay to be selective and have like really, I have had to have strong energetic boundaries, you know, as I've gotten older, and I've really learned that to stick to those. Especially during that time when I was really trying for my kids. Like I had to be really, really like, I can't tell the world about this, right? I can't tell Karen down the road that has lots of judgments about me already in the way I live my life.
She's also not living your life. She's living her own life.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing that. I love that story, and I love listening to you talk about how empowered you felt, and it
Mm.
gives so many people so much hope. Just you kind of living your path along. You know, I'm in my 30s, and just hearing your story is just so wonderful to just give us a little bit of peace to be like, I don't have to rush. Why am I rushing to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
force a situation or a plan that's not needed right now, and I can
Yeah.
focus my energy on other places.
What if your team's biggest breakthrough came from within? At InnerVox, we create tailored workshops for corporate companies that unlock confidence, communication, and collaboration. We're not your typical training. Our workshops are dynamic, experiential, laughter-filled, and designed to create lasting transformation. We use creative techniques, performance psychology, and real human connection. We help your people build trust and express themselves and perform at their absolute best by listening to their intuition and their inner voice. Because when your people grow, your business also grows. Visit innervox.co.uk/corporate today and click the link in the description below.
I wanted to ask you actually about the time when you were in between having children and you wanting that second child and you not having that period and feeling like you were going through perimenopause, and that second kind of conditioning, that layer that was added there that you kind of needed to shed. Two kind of questions, like how did you manage those thoughts, and also when did you like notice to kind of like unlearn those things? Was it happening kind of gradually? Was there a moment in time where you were like, this is just wrong, no, my body feels this? Like what was that for you? What did it look like?
Well, I think because I was breastfeeding my daughter, and I was in the early stages of our breastfeeding journey were really, really hard, really challenging. And I didn't have enough supply for her. So I had to get donor milk, and I went through this whole other journey. There's like a whole other story,
Wow.
which we won't go into. And I had to like really tap into some support there. And I was so damn determined to breastfeed her. I was like, I just know we're meant to. I just know we're meant to have this, like this thing together. We're meant to have this connection. We're meant to do this, but it was not coming easily. And I was like, but I would not be, I was so, I was like, I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And so we did. And I figured out how to do it, and it wasn't easy. And I'm surprised that I didn't give up sometimes, but like, so one of the reasons that I was told often that I wasn't going to get my period back as soon as I'd like to try again was because I was still breastfeeding her. And so it wasn't even as loud about the perimenopause. And to be honest, even online, it wasn't happening yet. It wasn't a big trendy thing yet, the perimenopause. Like people weren't talking about it yet at that time. Maybe somebody was, but I wasn't seeing so much about that. It was more, I felt really like this pressure of like, I need to quit feeding her so that I remember even a couple practitioners saying to me, you need to stop breastfeeding if you want to get pregnant again, because that's when your cycle will come back, because it's like, it can basically tell your body that it's not ready. It's not time. I just knew already that it would be like not as easy for me as it would for another woman to get my period back. And breastfeeding was also it's like adding another layer of like my health, maybe hindering my body to do it. I did like muscle testing with this beautiful kinesiologist, Melissa, because I just felt, I was like, I truly felt and believed, first of all, I didn't want to let go of that breastfeeding, because I was like, we worked so hard to get here. And I was being told when she was like, only one, like, just stop so you can have your second kid. Just stop. You won't regret it. Just stop. And I'm like, no, I just felt it. I was like, no, I'll regret it. I worked so hard to be in this place with her and to have this connection with her and to be able to do this with her. Like, no way. I was like,
how long did it take you to get to that space where you finally breastfed her?
Well, she would breastfeed, but it just wasn't enough milk. So it was like, it took a little while for her to like gain enough weight and to like be, like a healthy weight. And that was a challenging part. It was like first moments into motherhood, and you're like, oh my God, my kid's not gaining weight. And you're like, that's, especially as a newborn, you're like, that's so scary. You just want to keep them alive, and you're trying to keep yourself like, trying to make it all happen and learn as you go. But so it probably took like, until we figured out our little system that we had, it probably took a few months or more. I reckon it wasn't until she was after like 6 months or more that I felt like, okay, we got this. So it took us a little while. And that felt long at that time, of course, because it was just so, you're already like sleep deprived and like all the things. And trying to just, trying to do everything right. But yeah, it was, there was a point where she was probably, I don't know, 2 maybe? Early, like 2 and something months. And I went to this kinesiologist and I just said, I feel like my body, I'm being told to stop breastfeeding. I feel like my body is able to, I feel like I'm going to get my cycle back and breastfeed my daughter, and I don't want to let go of it. And I can just feel strongly that's the right thing for me. But I'm being told by so many people that I should stop. And so we did some muscle testing, right? We did lots of muscle testing on my body about different things. And when she tested my body, and she truly was like asking all the questions. And I don't know if anyone knows much about kinesiology, but it's a really beautiful modality when you find the right kinesiologist. And because it's like literally our bodies hold all the wisdom. We think we've been taught it's in the mind. We've been, sadly, we've been led down the wrong path, that all of our wisdom and everything we need to know is in the mind, but it's in the body. Always been in the body, right? From day one. So my body told her when she did the test that I don't need to stop breastfeeding, that it's going to be okay. That it's okay. I can do this, right? My cycle can come back, and I can, and in fact, it said we can get pregnant again. And I just trusted Melissa. I mean, of course I would have days where I'd be like, what the hell am I doing? I better stop breastfeeding. What the hell am I doing? Like it's taking too long. Like, like that. That's when I signed up for the IVF stuff, because I must have had a moment of like panic. I had that, which all women probably go through in their journeys as a later in life mother. It's like, you just get panicky because someone told you, oh, you're just taking too long. And so, but once I did that muscle testing, I just knew it, and I'll never forget. We had like a little celebratory party at our house. Literally, my daughter was a part of this. And she was like, I was bleeding, and she's like, oh, isn't that bad? And I was like, no, this is it. This is my cycle. This is what we've been asking. I've been asking for, to come back for quite a while. And so we did, like, even my husband, he was really beautiful. We did like a little celebration. I don't remember what we did, but it was just like, like a little party, basically. Like, we knew. And I was like, I remember telling one of my closest friends at the time, and she was like, she knew I was like struggling about like, do I give up breastfeeding? Do I do, da, da, da. And I went over to tell her, and she just, she like bawled her eyes out more than me, because she knew how long it, like the journey to get to that point of like just trusting. And she was like, you knew, like you trusted. Like, it was really cool. It was so beautiful to have that kind of friend that like cries with you about you getting your period.
We love this friend. I love her already.
So good. But yeah. And then I think and then as we went forward, and like going to the doctors and like the testing and like the being told that I was even menopausal at this point, or then they probably did say, I do remember one doctor telling me I was menopausal. Like, not even 45. Come on, mate. Like, give me like another 5 years at least. And maybe I'm sure other ones probably said perimenopause, which I think I kind of knew what it was, but not as much as we have it all over the internet now. And it's like the next thing you see, that they're telling women in their 30s to worry about being perimenopausal, which is wild. Again, another thing to be scared of, right? For our bodies. But I think I just like, I don't know. I think at that point, because I also remember that at that point I'm 44 and I've been through a lot of life. And you just start to, as a woman in your 40s, you just start to go, F it. Like, I know what's right for me. I know in my body. Like, I could feel in my gut what was true. And what the doctor told me, I was like, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. And I could just feel, I don't know if it's like, for some people, it might be a little bit I'm sure a lot of this is on the woo-woo side if we want to go there. But like, I would speak to my spirit babies before they came. Like I would speak to them, and, just to God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, like both are beautiful words, and just be like, I'm ready. We're ready for you to join our family. Like we're here. We're ready. Like I could feel there was a soul. And I'm not saying you have to do any of that stuff, but those were some of the things that I was doing, and I just trusted. I don't know. I trusted that it was going to happen. And I was going to say this to you earlier when you spoke about something. Oh, when you said like me sharing my story gives women hope. What I also like to share, the reason I like to share it as well, Melissa, is because I think we're so indoctrinated into like, there's this one way to do life. And I know things are opening up now, and I'm sure that like we're shifting and we're moving towards the new paradigm. If you go deep into the, human design world, we're coming into the new paradigm very soon. But it's like one of the reasons I think I came here too is to show people like there's not just this one way to live your life. And if my life is anything, it's that. It's like a little blueprint of like, well, there's like, I've never had this one career. I've never had this one, like, I mean, obviously I don't like, people are like, you're promoting geriatric pregnancy. You're promoting like women waiting until they're 40. I'm not promoting anything like that. I'm promoting that all I'm doing is sharing my story. So that I promote hope is anything. And the knowledge that every woman's timeline is uniquely hers and it is perfect. And anyone that says otherwise, that she should have done this 20 years ago, well, probably there was no way she could. She was probably not with the right man. Maybe she hadn't met her man yet. Like there's lots of reasons why, maybe she was in a domestic violence situation. Like we don't know why women end up, I don't think any woman grows up thinking as a kid, I'm going to be a later in life mother. It's like, I don't know, maybe some do now, but it wasn't my plan. And that's why I share it. It's like, you think your plan is the best plan, but God and the universe always has a better plan. And it's usually a little bit different and a little bit more miraculous and unexpected and beautiful if we can open to the possibility of it.
100%. I would not be doing this podcast 3 years ago. I didn't know that this was going to happen 3 years ago. And I'm now in a position where I'm so lit up talking to people like you, telling stories that shared that hope and share that hope with people, that there is another way. And when we do listen to our intuition, and our intuition is different for everybody. Like yours is your gut, mine is my spleen, which is
Yes.
very different.
Yes.
And so, you know, sometimes when someone might say like, listen to your gut, or listen to your, what does your head tell you? What does your mind tell you? What's this telling you?
Yeah.
If you don't know where your intuition is coming from,
Can be tricky.
how can you connect to your body? And then, of course, we're going to listen to all this stuff that we've been told since we've been a child, because that's in the first 7 years. That's the most important time of our lives, where we're so conditioned to everything. We come out as this huge, beautiful, shining, bright lights. And
Yes.
then we get all this dark stuff stuck to us of, you can't have a baby until this age. You can't do this until you're married, or you must do
Yes.
this because this is the right
Yes.
way. And I didn't have this childhood, so you're going to have this you're going to have this childhood, or
Yes.
this is right for you because you should do this. But actually, maybe that manifested child doesn't want to do that. Maybe that projected child doesn't want to be like this, or
Yeah,
maybe this
exactly.
manifested generated child needs to do all these different things and pick this up and
Needs
put
to
that down and
pivot
do that.
50
Yeah,
times.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's I really do. I have such strong beliefs on when we listen to our intuition, then we can really truly, that's why I call my business InnerVox, because it's listening to our inner voice, and that's what then brings out this purpose for our own individual life, which is different from yours. As you said earlier in the podcast, your life is not meant to be like mine.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's perfect and it's beautiful. Like, I think too, we have the other layer of now social media, and so many women are comparing themselves to what other women are doing on social media, right? And so there's that other layer of like, oh, well, that lady's doing that, and that lady's, you know, she had her kids at this age, and she's got, you know what I mean? She's got it all sorted. It's like no one has it all figured out. Everyone's just kind of raw dogging it. They're all figuring it out as they go, and actually, the comparison is just another little tricky mind ego game, because the mind is the greatest trickster, right? Of our whole life and our whole time. So it's just another way the mind's like trying to keep you safe. It's just, you know, your body's always trying to keep you in this safe place. And the way that we do that is we don't take as many risks as maybe our gut wants us to, or our authority wants us to, right? Like if I'd played it safe, I would still be living in Michigan and with that first husband. And probably maybe we would have had a couple kids and I was 22 or something, you know, which, you know, that's fine. If that works for another woman, like, and that's her life path, you know, that's perfect. And in fact, being a younger mom is beautiful as well. It's like, that's the point, is like being a younger mom, being a mom in your 30s, being a mom in your 40s. Some women are doing their 50s. Like that doesn't even matter. It's just like, if we're always taking the safe road, then we're not going to live the aligned life, and we're not going to have the joy, and we're not going to have the abundance, and we're not going to have the flow. And that's what I feel like I've tapped into so much, especially in the last, I don't know, like however many, 10 years, you know, really 10 years, like ish, the last decade of my life, of like really listening, really knowing my inner wisdom and truth, and getting it wrong and not listening. And then the universe always shows me, whoop, you didn't listen to that, you know, because I always know in the moment, because I have sacral authority. So those of you listening, if you have sacral authority, you know in the moment, and then your mind goes, wait, no, that's probably, no, you should help that person. Oh no, you should do that thing. You should say yes to that. And literally a month later, you're going, oh my God, I knew it. My gut told me, I regret this, right? So it's like, we don't want to regret things in life. And that's one of the questions when someone asks me, like, how did you know? Like, how did you know you wanted to be a mom later in life? Like, how did you make that decision? Because there's also women that are like, you know, they get pregnant and they're in their 40s. They're like, and their husband's like, should we be, you know, having this baby? I always say, I'm like, I just remember standing in my kitchen with my husband and saying to him, I've asked my older self, like I've pictured Chrissy 20 years from now in her 60s. Would she regret not trying to have kids? And she said, yes. So I always say that. That's my biggest,
I love that.
when someone asks me like, how do you know, or what do I do? Or how do I really, you know, and again, that's that's wanting them to tap into their design as well. But that's one of the trigger questions that I've given to other women, is like, put yourself in your shoes. And I know that's hard to do sometimes, but try and put yourself in your older woman's shoes 20 years from now, even 10 years from now, and go, would she regret it? Like, can you feel
Mm,
that? Your body will tell you, you know?
mm.
And mine was like, oh my God, yes, we'll regret it. We need to try.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, thanks for that. I'm going to take that away. If you could go back and speak to your younger version of yourself, I know you've spoken to your older self, but your younger self,
Yes.
before all of the healing and before all the wisdom, what do you think
Yeah.
that she most needed to hear?
You are so perfect as you are. You are enough. You are absolutely enough. That's what I tell my little girl self. When that time when she was like really like changing herself, you know, to fit in. It started so young. And I would just say to her, you're exactly as you're meant to be. Like stay you. Don't try and alter. Don't try and put yourself into that box. Like you're gonna get stifled so easily. I would just tell her, you know, you're perfect. Keep listening to your inner truth. Your inner knowing is there. You know, little kids, they know. Like we try and train it out of them to like use their mind and do it the way we would do it. But they know, right? We know when we know in our bodies before we're taught that we don't.
Absolutely. Yes. And my body tells me that all the time. It's like I feel this like feeling like anxious, like this energy around me that's like when something is wrong, it's not right.
Mm,
The energy runs through my body and I know that. Um
yeah.
and I think people are waking up to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you actually that what do you think women are collectively waking up to right now, and what conversations do you believe we need to be having more honestly about women in their, well, let's say from like 30s onwards, because
Mm.
I'm 32. So what would you say about that? What do we need to be talking about?
Well, I think from my own inner journey, and then also I have, you know, many beautiful women that, especially my close friends, that we have big chats about these kinds of things and what we've learned and what we're still figuring out in our, even in our 40s. And um, I think it's collectively, I think in general, like we are as humans collectively moving into a different time where we're going to be more tapped into the body because we'll just be, we have to. And for women, it's like, I think from a very young age, especially even when you look at like the rites of passages, like the first period you have, you're kind of, I think we're taught pretty early on that like we don't really know what to do, and we don't like, we have to look outside of ourselves, like, and especially like for women, it's like look to look to the doctors, look to the ones that know better, like the medical system. And so we very early on are taught to give that away, you know,
Mm.
to give away the knowing. You don't know, you just got to go talk to your doctor about that. um and it happens with many rites of passages, right? Not just like the first cycle. It's like, you know, when a woman wants to try for a baby, they're told to go, you know, get advice from a doctor. You know, or if they're trying not to have a baby, it's like immediately put her on birth control. And then we know that's a whole other story
Yeah.
about what's good. That's, you know, kind of messing with so many women's bodies, especially after the fact, after many years of being on birth control, right? But it's another, I think for me and for a lot of the women I know, it's just been this like beautiful like unraveling of like, it's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Like you had it inside of you all along, right? Home was always there. You know, you could have gone home the whole time. And that's how I felt. It's like as I get older, I keep moving deeper into this. Like I've always had inside of me the wisdom. And I'm not saying that we can't learn from other people outside of us in any way. I'm not saying that. Like, you know, especially as line ones, we know we like to go outside of us and learn from different books and wise women and wise people and teachers and things like that. It's just that I think especially for women, because we do have such this like innate powerful wisdom inside of us, like we are creating life. I mean, like we're literally portals of
Yep.
life and creation. So that can be a bit scary for the rest of the world, right? And for men, and because we have this deep knowledge and wisdom that kind of like just goes way back before our, before our time now, and the women that have come before us, right? That just like it's flowing through our veins. But what's happened for so many women is that we're very early on, and we see this and we watch our mothers go through it, right? Our mothers giving away their power, our mothers doubting themselves, our mothers not trusting their inner wisdom. And then we kind of follow in the same footsteps. I think what I'm seeing a lot of women do is they're not following in those footsteps anymore. They're saying, it ends with me. It ends with my generation. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to step into my power. I'm going to use my voice. And I'm going to listen to my truth. And it's uncomfortable because it does rock the boat. You're the weirdo in the family. You're doing things a little bit different. You're listening to your inner wisdom, which kind of throws people off around you. Like, oh, what do you mean you're not going to do that thing that everyone else is doing? Right. And my partner and I live our lives, and like, our kids aren't going to school. Like, or like, if you like want to pick on things, you could like pick out all the things that are, we're homeschooling. We live on land.
Beautiful.
We don't subscribe to a lot of things that a lot of people just do because that's the mainstream way to do it. And it feels easier. But like, once you tap into yourself as a woman, you can't unsee the things. So get ready, Melissa.
Honestly,
it just gets better.
I know. I'm so excited for all of this. And I was just thinking just now, like, oh, wow. And I've now, got this connection with you, and I'm feeling like when I have children, I have someone who's already done it, who's already homeschooling because that's what I want to do. And all these things, like I have someone to talk to about this. And I have so much gratitude for you sharing your story. You have no idea, because it just gives me the validation that I know that what my body is telling me is wise and truthful. And it just makes me feel so much more aligned with where I'm at now in my part of my journey. And I know that that's not right now. But it will happen, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be like, what's going to happen before that? So like, it's just lovely. So thank you.
There's so much to look forward to, like no matter what age you're at. And that's why like also I like to talk about it on my page, because on my Instagram page a lot is like you're just like, you're probably gonna start 5 more businesses, or like create some weird product that other women need, or like I think I want to write a book about my story, but that just came through the other day, and my partner's like, oh my God, you're doing that. But that's like a future project. But like, like right now my energy is deeply devoted to my children and my family. Deeply devoted to my husband and my kids, and for a lot of women that's like, is that enough? And for me, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's because of my age. And I'm like, oh my God, it's more than enough. Right. And I get to talk to beautiful women like you, and like share my story, and that's like, it's like a perk. That's another perk.
It's exciting. It's so exciting. Before we end our conversation, I have a few questions I want to ask you, but I wanted to give this space just now if you wanted to share anything before I ask you my 3 questions I ask all my guests.
I just want any woman that's listening that is going through a hard time to know that like you're not alone. And I remember feeling so lonely and isolated when I went through my divorce in my 30s, because like a lot of my friends, this was like old friends I didn't have anymore, but a lot of people I knew had already had their babies. It's like they were like doing the thing. They were doing the right thing. And I was over here like floundering, like on my, bathroom floor, having big sobbing, like, very eat, pray, love vibes, but like, just like, what's happening, God? Like, and it was lonely. And even when I was having like these beautiful connections with myself, and, at night I would get really sad because I'd be like, is this my life? Like, is this what I'm doing the rest of my life? Am I alone the rest of my life? Or am I the cool aunt for the rest of my life? Or, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a cool thing to be, and that's a beautiful role. But like, I just knew I wanted more. And so, but I felt really alone in that journey. And so I just wanted to share that is if you're listening and you're a woman that feels really isolated and alone, like just know that you're not the only one out there. And especially since sharing my story on social media and how many, hundreds of like comments and messages there are, you know, it's true. Like you are truly not alone. There are so many other women that are going through their own plot twist and that are either heartbroken or maybe they're free because they needed to get out of a really scary relationship or whatever their situation is. Like, and the starting over can be really uncomfortable and sticky, but it is so beautiful and powerful at the same time. Like when you get that chance to start over and really move through life in the way you're meant to, like just take it, like go run with it. Don't be scared of it.
Thank you. That was beautiful. What's one piece of advice that you'd give somebody who is lost and trying to find their purpose?
If they're open to it, I would tell them to go and pull their human design because it's such a beautiful way to connect in with your self and I say this with an open mind, like do it, but you don't attach yourself to, don't feel attached to any of the pieces of your design. Like I always say that to people when I do readings and stuff too. In the past, I've been like, if some of these things just feel so off for you, first of all, it's probably because you're living a bit out of alignment and you're trying to do things in a different way. But also just, it's okay if not all of it makes sense. It's okay if you don't resonate with all of it. So I would say just pull your design and you can do your free design and online. There's lots of places, but like just have a little look and see if any of it, remind yourself of who you are, because sometimes when we feel so lost, often it's because we've gone off the path so many times, even though the universe is always kind of trying to nudge you over here, right? It's trying to always tell you, but sometimes we've turned the volume of our mind's voice and the external voices up so loud that we don't hear the body anymore. Yeah. So that's one place I would start, definitely, is just pulling your human design. Just have a little look and just see what happens. I think something will be sparked.
My world blew open and expanded in such a beautiful way when I looked into my human design and validated, that's why I feel like this, and that's why I feel so burnt out working like a generator, and that's why I feel
yes, absolutely.
like I need to be in my bed right now. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm still learning these things. Like, I was really tired the other day, but I wasn't tired because I was like burnt out. I was tired because I needed to focus my energy on something that lit me up and my fascinations.
Yes. Yeah.
As a projector, I need to be, spending my time and energy onto things that excite me, like learning about my genes last week. And I was like going into it really, really deep. And I was just, finding out so many more beautiful things, which is definitely going to help me with the stuff that I do put my energy into, the work
That's
that I'm
right.
putting out and sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think even if someone goes in and just finds out their energy type, if they're feeling lost, because sometimes just knowing that one, it's a big piece of your chart. It's the first thing you talk about usually if you're learning from someone. And it can sometimes just, like you said, blow your mind away because you're just like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. And
It's
we've
such
got
a beautiful
5 energy
permission
types.
slip. Yes, 5 energy types. So it's not like you have to go through like 100.
No, yeah, it's just 5. So we've got generators, manifesting generators, which make up most of the population. And then we have 20%, around 20% of projectors. Then we have manifestors at 8% and projectors at reflectors at 1%. So there's knowing those energy types, as you said, Chrissy, is just so important to how you are designed to be here on this earth, because my design is completely different to yours. I can't use my energy in the same way because I don't have that sacral that's lit up and defined. So going through that thank you for sharing that. That's a really important way to find your path and your purpose. But so that is actually something that you do. You guide people. You're a human design guide. Can you share where people can find you and what you're doing in the amazing offerings that you're doing?
My website is it's chrissybethcoaching.com. And it's basically once you go on there, you can pull your chart for free. That's the first thing you can do if you've never done that, or your kid's chart or your husband's chart or anyone. And then from there, it gives like a little list of different offerings I have. And yeah, I do readings. I do family readings. I do kids like blueprint readings, which I love doing, like mini readings.
Yeah, that's so
And
cute.
yeah, it's definitely, I don't do heaps of work because I'm with my kids most of the day, but like I have, when someone books in, I set aside little bits of time throughout the week. Yeah. So I'm pretty selective about how I do
Amazing.
it, but
And
yeah.
people can find you on Instagram. You're Chrissy Beth Hubbard on Instagram, aren't you?
At Chrissy Beth Hubbard. Yeah. And you'll notice I do actually have a separate account that's just human design, but my Instagram, Chrissy Beth Hubbard, I feel like is like a full, like where you really see all the things going on for me in my life. And obviously that's where I share a lot about my life story and my fertility journey and my motherhood journey as well. So yeah, definitely check me out there.
And we'll pop that all in the show notes so you can find Chrissy there and connect with her one-to-one if you want to work with her as a human design coach. That would be amazing. I have one final question for you. What's one takeaway that you want our listener to leave with today?
I guess it's that for the woman that has been questioning herself to leave feeling like, okay, I'm going to start listening to myself. Like I'm going to start listening to the knowing, because often women do hear things, they do get the inner urges, the nudges, whatever they're even, if we look at human design, we look at the different authority types, like they'll be getting them, but often they question them because the mind's so tricky. So hopefully it's that she leaves hearing that she can trust herself. She can trust her inner wisdom. It's not just like a woo-woo thing. It's real. It's there for a reason, right? Like it's there for a reason. It's part of her path and her plan to follow it. Yeah. And it'll just get better. Like hopefully women listening, like no matter your age, whatever age you're at listening to this, like I don't know, man. It just gets better. Like I don't know. I know it's going to keep getting better. And I feel like I've had some pretty cool stuff happen.
Yeah. Honestly, me listening to your story is just giving me so much energy and excitement for my future.
Cool.
Just hearing that. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing your voice and sharing your story and inflicting hope on everybody. Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really fun, Melissa. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for listening to whoever's still listening.
Yes, thank you so much for listening. I really hope this helps to shine bright in the world. And if you did enjoy this episode, the best way to show your support, because it really does help the channel grow, is to like this video and share it with someone that you feel might need to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button and comment below your thoughts on the episode and share your voice. It's free and I love reading all your comments and replying to them. So I'm sending so much love. Until next time, see you in the next episode.